Another blood moon is on the rise this weekend. Saturday's full lunar eclipse is the third in a series of 4 over a 2-year period.
Now to the continuing reaction, both pro and con, to the outline of a nuclear deal with Iran reached this week. In a televised address on Friday, Iranian President Hassan Rouhani welcomed the accord and hailed it as the start of a new relationship with the world.
The Iranians insist they'll abide by the plan that would shelve their presumed hope of building atomic weapons for at least 15 years. Israel isn't buying it. Elizabeth Palmer's in our London bureau with the latest. Elizabeth, good morning.
Good morning. Well, for Israel and for the rest of the world, that matter, these negotiations were always about preventing Iran from developing nuclear weapons. But for the Iranians, it was something quite different. They were all about ending its isolation. After marathon negotiations, Iran's foreign minister Jawad Zarif arrived home a hero, especially among the young who hope the nuclear deal will bring their country in from the cold. At Friday prayers, there was the usual chant of death to America, but more habit than conviction. The sermon by senior Ayatollah Qassani made it clear that Iran's leaders support this deal. I congratulate those who led the talks, he said. Great job. For Iranians, the talks in Lausanne were not so much about nuclear weapons. Iran says it never wanted them in the first place, but about economics. U.S.-led sanctions have crippled Iran's businesses and its currency and sent inflation soaring to 40%. That's why a deal, even a preliminary one, kicked off such a celebration. I think the economic pressure that people have endured, said Davoud Ghaffari, will ease now. The partying may be premature as details on sanctions relief haven't been hammered out yet, but the hope is very real. Contrast that with the reaction of Israel's prime minister.
Such a deal does not block Iran's path to the bomb. Such a deal paves Iran's path to the bomb.
Benjamin Netanyahu's dislike of that Lausanne deal is echoed in the U.S. House of Representatives among Republicans, which could make ironing out the final details between now and the end of June the hardest part of all. Anthony, Vanita.
Elizabeth Palmer in our London bureau this morning. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Iranians celebrating in the streets after negotiators announcing a framework for a nuclear deal. The tentative agreement paves the way for the U.S. to lift sanctions against Iran. President Obama now trying to sell that deal as a good one, but critics are skeptical. It's a step towards a nuclear-armed Iran, some say. Molly Henneberg is following the latest reaction. Molly?
Uma, Leland, good afternoon. The nation of Israel may not agree, but President Obama says the nuclear deal with Iran, or the outline of it so far, would make the world safer for the U.S. and our allies.
This framework is the result of tough, principled diplomacy. It's a good deal, a deal that meets our core objectives, including strict limitations on Iran's program and cutting off every pathway that Iran could take to develop a nuclear weapon.
But Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has been very vocal, opposing the agreement. And after a top Iranian military official was quoted as saying that erasing Israel off the map is, quote, non-negotiable, Netanyahu called for the deal to include a section about Israel's right to exist.
The cabinet is united in strongly opposing the proposed deal. This deal would pose a grave danger to the region and to the world, and would threaten the very survival of the State of Israel.
The State Department pushed back against Netanyahu, saying that this is a deal about Iran's nuclear program only and no other issues. The Obama administration is trying to get a final deal with Iran and 5 other world powers, not including Israel, by June 30th. Uma?
All right, Molly, thank you very much.